Sofia had 28 pages of research and 90 seconds to explain why it mattered. She used 84 seconds describing what she had done: customer interviews, support ticket analysis, journey maps, 3 rounds of testing. Then the chief financial officer interrupted her. "I understand the work," he said. "What changed because of it?" Sofia looked at the crowded slide behind her. The answer was somewhere inside it, but she could not find the sentence before the meeting moved on. 2 weeks later, her project lost its funding. Sofia had worked harder than almost anyone in the room. But the decision was not based on effort. It was based on what the room could understand. Have you ever finished something difficult, assumed the value was obvious, and then watched people react as though very little had happened? Have you ever presented a list of everything you did only to realize no one understood what any of it changed? Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is WiseMind Stories. This is episode 4 of our journey through Rise Above the Rest by Troy Blaine. The book challenges the belief that talent and hard work automatically receive the position they deserve. Today, we are confronting a particularly stubborn version of that belief. My work should speak for itself. But work does not speak. People interpret it, summarize it, compare it, fund it, promote it, forget it, or explain it incorrectly. By the end of this episode, you will have a practical system called the visibility ledger, a way to translate effort into value without exaggerating, constantly self-promoting, or turning every conversation into an advertisement for yourself. Sofia was a customer research lead at Rowan Energy, a company that helped homeowners monitor and reduce electricity use. She had joined when the company was small enough for everyone to understand everyone else's work. Back then, Sofia could walk to the founder's desk, show him 3 customer recordings, and change the product by Friday. 5 years later, Rowan employed 400 people. Decisions moved through quarterly plans, budget reviews, executive summaries, and layers of managers who did not attend the research sessions. Sofia's work remained strong. The environment around it had changed. She still believed that rigor would make the importance obvious, so her reports became more complete. More interviews, more quotations, more detailed methods, more evidence that she had done the work carefully. But completeness and clarity are not the same thing. Sofia's strongest insights were often buried beneath the proof that produced them. Her manager once asked for a 1-paragraph update. Sofia sent 4 pages. The first paragraph explained the sample. The second described limitations. The third added context. The recommendation appeared near the bottom of page 3. Sofia called this intellectual honesty. Her manager called it hard to use. Meanwhile, a product manager named Theo sent updates that executives repeated almost word for word. "Customers are not leaving because the device is difficult," he wrote. "They're leaving because the first bill arrives before they see a saving. We can close that trust gap by showing projected savings during setup." Theo had learned that insight from Sofia's research. He did not steal it. He credited her report in the document. But he translated the research into a decision. The organization remembered the translation. Sofia began to resent him. "He simplifies everything," she told a friend. "The real work is more complicated." A week later, Theo asked Sofia why she had stopped inviting him to research reviews. She tried to dismiss the question, then decided to be honest. "People repeat your conclusions as if you discovered them," she said. Theo looked genuinely surprised. "I link your research in every update. Most executives never open the link. Then you should present the conclusion with me. I shouldn't have to turn my work into a slogan." Theo opened one of his summaries. "This isn't a slogan. It's the decision your research supports." Sofia pointed to the screen. You left out half the context. Yes. Because the update was for a person deciding whether the onboarding team gets another sprint. I included the context that could change that decision. Theo was not entirely right. Sometimes his summaries removed uncertainty that Sofia considered essential, but he was not the empty self-promoter she had imagined either. Before leaving, he said, I assumed you wanted to stay behind the research. Every time I ask you to present, you tell me to handle it. Sofia had believed people were pushing her out of the story. She had not noticed how often she handed them the microphone and called it principle. That was true. It was also incomplete. Complexity is part of the work. Making complexity usable is also part of the work. If your audience cannot see the meaning, providing more material may increase the distance instead of closing it. Effort is experienced privately. Impact must be translated publicly. The failed budget meeting was for a project Sofia believed could reduce cancellations during a customer's first 60 days. Her team had interviewed 83 homeowners and identified a surprising pattern. Customers were not mainly leaving because the product failed. They were leaving because the product's success was delayed and invisible. People paid for installation immediately but did not recognize the savings until the next billing cycle. During that gap, support calls increased and trust fell. Sofia's team designed a new onboarding experience that showed a realistic estimate of future savings and explained when customers would see it. In a small test, early cancellations fell by 24%. That was the answer the chief financial officer had been asking for. What changed? Early cancellations fell by 24%. But Sofia had opened with methodology and reached the result after the decision-maker's attention had already moved on. The project lost funding not because the work lacked value, but because Sofia presented the path before the destination. Does that feel unfair? Perhaps it is. Decision-makers should ask better questions. Leaders should create enough time to understand complex work. But attention is still finite. And if you know the bridge is missing, standing beside excellent work and blaming the other side does not move the value across. After the funding decision, Sofia met Amir, Rowan's head of customer strategy. He placed her 28-page deck on the table. This is excellent research, he said. It wasn't good enough. That's not what I said. The project was cut. The research was excellent. The decision story was weak. Sofia crossed her arms. I'm not a salesperson. Neither am I. You know what I mean. Amir nodded. You think explaining value contaminates the value. That sentence irritated her because it was close to the truth. Sofia believed strong work should remain pure. It should not need packaging. If she reduced it to one number, she feared she would become like people who made bold promises from thin evidence. Amir opened the slide containing the 24% result. Did this happen? In the test group, yes. Can you state the limitation? It was a small sample and we need a longer pilot. Then say both. Clarity is not dishonesty. Overselling removes the limits. Translation puts the limits beside the meaning. He asked Sofia to explain the entire project in 3 sentences. Her first attempt took 8. The second contained 12 qualifications. On the 4th attempt, she said, new customers are canceling before they can see the product save them money. Our redesigned onboarding made the future value visible and reduced early cancellations by 24% in a small test. We need a 90-day pilot to learn whether the improvement holds at scale. Problem, evidence, decision. Nothing important had been removed. The work had become usable. A task list proves you were busy. An impact statement explains why the work mattered. Amir then asked Sofia to review her last 6 months of updates. Together, they noticed a pattern. Sofia reported activity, completed 12 interviews, synthesized support feedback, delivered the revised journey map. Theo reported movement, identified the trust gap causing early cancellations, changed the setup flow to address the gap. The test reduced cancellations. A larger pilot is the next decision. Both forms were accurate. Only one helped a distant leader understand value quickly. Visibility is not volume. It is making the right value legible to the right person at the right time. Sofia began keeping a document Amir called the visibility ledger. Every Friday, she answered 4 questions. What did I own? What changed? What evidence shows the change? Who needs this information to make a better decision? At first, the ledger felt self-centered. Then Sofia noticed that it improved more than her reputation. It helped her team identify research that had not produced a decision. It revealed projects generating activity without movement. It made credit easier to distribute accurately because ownership was recorded instead of reconstructed months later. Visibility did not require Sofia to say "I" more often than the truth allowed. It required her to stop using "we" when "we" made every contribution impossible to locate. The ledger also changed her next performance conversation. In previous years, Sofia arrived with a list of completed studies. Her manager would praise her reliability, then tell her to become more strategic. The phrase frustrated her because no one could explain what it meant. This time, she organized the conversation around decisions. Her research had prevented the team from building a feature customers did not trust. It had identified the onboarding gap. It had changed which customer group the company targeted first. She included evidence and named the partners who contributed. Her manager read the page twice. I didn't realize 3 of these product decisions came from your work, he said. Sofia almost replied, you should have. Instead, she noticed the larger truth. For 2 years, she had sent him methods, deliverables, and links. She had rarely sent the decision chain. The company still carried responsibility for understanding its people. But Sofia now had a method for ensuring that her strongest work did not depend entirely on someone else's memory. 3 months later, Rowan's cancellation rate rose again. The executive team reopened the onboarding question and gave Sofia 5 minutes. She arrived with 3 slides instead of 28. The first showed the business problem. The second showed the small test and its limits. The third described the pilot, cost, and decision required. The chief financial officer asked, "Why are you confident this deserves another test?" Sofia answered, "Because it produced the largest measured reduction in early cancellations we tested last quarter. I am not asking you to assume it will scale. I'm asking for the pilot that will tell us." The pilot was approved. Not the full project. Not unlimited funding. One controlled opportunity to produce stronger evidence. That distinction mattered. Sofia did not win by pretending certainty. She won the next decision by making value and uncertainty visible together. Your work cannot speak for itself, but you can learn to speak about it without betraying it. So here is the visibility ledger. Use it once a week, before a performance review, at the end of a project, or whenever your work is likely to travel farther than you do. Column 1. Ownership. What did you actually lead, create, decide, repair, or contribute? Use accurate verbs. Not was involved in. Try designed, negotiated, identified, trained, or led. Column 2. Change. What became different because of the work? Faster, safer, clearer, cheaper, more trusted, less risky, easier to decide? Not every change needs a financial number. A before and after condition can be evidence too. Column 3. Evidence. What supports the claim? A metric, customer response, completed milestone, reduced risk, time saved, error prevented, or decision enabled. Column 4. Receiver. Who needs to understand this and what decision can they make with it? Your manager may need different language from a customer. A technical team may need the method. An executive may first need the consequence. The same principle works beyond a company. A freelancer should not tell a prospective client only how many hours a project required. The client needs to understand the problem the work solves. A job candidate should not list software tools without connecting them to outcomes. A founder should not describe every product feature before explaining whose life becomes easier. Even inside a family, invisible labor becomes a source of resentment when everyone sees tasks but no one understands the load being carried. Translation does not guarantee appreciation. It gives appreciation accurate information to work with. Then turn one row into a visibility sentence. I owned this work. It changed this condition. Here is the evidence. Here is the decision it supports. The goal is not to become the main character in every story. It is to stop being edited out of your own. What valuable work have you described only as a list of tasks? What result is obvious to you because you lived inside the project but invisible to everyone outside it? And who needs the translation before the next decision is made? Sofia's research did not become more valuable when she reduced it to 3 sentences. It became more available. That is the shift. Excellence happens in the work. Opportunity often happens in the explanation. In the next episode, we move beyond explaining value to initiating opportunity. Because even when people understand what you can do, they may never deliver the invitation you are waiting for. How do you stop waiting to be chosen and start making a clear, useful claim on the opportunity you want? That is where we go next. If this episode helped you see the gap between effort and impact, subscribe to WiseMind Stories. Stories that change how you see your life.